1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirement by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which the certification applies, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kimball?
Mr. Cheney.
Yes.
Ms. Highland.
Yes.
Ms. Carney.
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence. Mr. Rasnick.
Yes.
And Mr. Sharp.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody. The next thing we'll do is stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, if you'll join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Moving on next to the adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as presented this evening?
So moved.
And a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cheney. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. And are there any opposed or abstentions? Thank you. We've adopted the agenda for this April 2 meeting. Next is public comments and requests. I don't have any slips. Mr. Kimball, are there any slips for public comment or
We
request?
have none, ma'am.
Are there any letters or other communications to be read into the record?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to the highlight of the evening, which is recognitions and reports. I think I'll turn it over to Dr. Jones, and it looks like we have some welcome guests this evening.
Okay, I think, do we have our Scholastic team here? Come on up. If you'd like to, at the podium, and share with us about your season. You guys were awesome. Again, for the 4th time.
Thanks. Well, we had an all-new team this year, except for me, but nobody else had played before, so we were, we had a big learning curve, but we really got going and enjoyed the season and practiced often, and so we learned a lot, and we ended up, winning all of our district matches, all of our regular season matches, and then the district tournament and the region tournament and also the state tournament. So that was good. And yeah, I got, 2 of our members here with me. They're new this year, but they're already very good. And
Could y'all introduce yourselves?
Oh yeah, sure. So I'm Liam O'Connell. I'm the captain. You guys can introduce yourselves.
Okay. I'm Eleanor McLean, junior.
I'm Matt Ehrman. I'm a junior.
All right, so we'll have at least a couple people back next year from this year's team.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And obviously we'd like to thank our coach, Mr. Scharf, who, if it weren't for him, we wouldn't have a Quiz Bowl team. And he is a fantastic coach. So definitely, a lot of thanks for the good season go to him. And I didn't really prepare remarks, so I'm not sure what else to say, but it's been good. We had a good season. We won a lot of games, undefeated actually. And so yeah, now the team, we've been playing some outside tournaments. We just came in second at a tournament at Oakland Mills High School in Maryland. Yeah, and so that was very good, and we're preparing for one of the national tournaments in June, and we're very excited and enjoying Quiz Bowl.
All right.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming tonight. Congratulations on a great season.
Thank you.
And we have girls basketball. Anybody here from basketball at all? Okay. Swim team.
We're looking at you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Devlin, a captain of the George Mason swim team. Our other captain, Joseph Rund, couldn't make it today because of a Mason baseball game, so I'm here to give you a summary of our achievements. The George Mason swim team had a fantastic season this year. We dominated our division and became repeat Region B champions. Lucas Cherry and Aaron McFall received the High Point Awards for the regional meet, and our coaches Janice Nettie and John Michael Lemon were named both district and region coaches of the year. At the state meet, our girls team finished 16th and our boys team finished 8th out of the 86 single and double A teams in attendance. And throughout the season, all of our swimmers worked hard and improved their times, and our state swimmers set 10 new team records. Despite our obstacles, like trying to fit 71 students in a small 6-lane pool or missing the Bristol Invitational meet due to severe weather, we managed to succeed. Our season went smoothly thanks to our coaches' hard work and determination, as well as support from our school and so many wonderful parent volunteers. So thank you all so much for your continued support of the George Mason swim team.
Thank you for coming this evening, and congratulations on a great year, and we'll hope to see you guys here this time next year as well. Thanks.
And we have a robotics team here, I believe, tonight. Okay.
Yeah, you know what, we'll come back to that.
Yeah, I think so.
Should have introduced her.
While they're preparing, I'm John Ballou again, and once again, for the 9th year in a row now, we've fielded a first FRC robotics team, and this year the competition was to design a robot that could throw frisbees and climb towers. And this is our submission. We went to 2 different competitions where we did fairly well. We didn't have any great trophy winners this year, but we've had a really good design, and this we had so many great matches that were offset by a couple of anomalies, is what I call them. But anyhow, we ended up having a chance to play against some really first-rate schools and had some very, very exciting matches. This robot is capable of both autonomous and teleoperated control. In other words, it can be turned on, it'll go and do and score on its own. And it's capable of being driven by my drive team here. Where's Christina? Very important part of the drive team here. This group of 4 had to take the greatest bulk of the pressure out on the competition field. But the rest of the team here was instrumental in all all the parts of designing and building this are what make this such a significant experience. That's the message I really wanted to communicate, is that whatever we do on the competitive field, the fact that we can actually field a working and fairly sophisticated design is something that we always hope to accomplish. We made it to the semifinals in our first competition and didn't quite get invited into the second one, but it was we had some marvelous matches. This represents 6 weeks of probably 25 to 30 hours a week after school for 6 weeks nonstop in order to be able to get this meeting the deadlines that the competition requires. It required a whole lot of preparation, and the team itself functioned in many, many different ways. We had some of the best statisticians that I have ever had help organize and keep track of what all the other schools. In Virginia, there were 65 teams, and in DC, there were 58? 59 various teams that we competed against. And we had to keep track of all that information, and that was vital to their play. Daniel, if you'd like to be able to introduce the team here, and we can demonstrate a couple of the functions of the robot. You might, it does shoot frisbees pretty hard. Sure,
just as long as it doesn't come in this direction.
But it has some excellent capabilities in terms of picking things up. So if you guys could demonstrate that. Daniel, come on over here and talk.
All right, I'm Daniel Nettie. So I was the robo coach. I was in charge of, in the middle of matches, instructing what the drive team should do, like strategy-wise. Over here on the left, we have Adam Martin. He was in charge of operating the main drivetrain, which is moving the robot around on the field. And then Shane Ensign in the middle, operating an Xbox controller on all of the various expenditures on the robot. I guess. And then Christina was in charge of the human player who fed frisbees onto the field through feeder slots. The challenge this year was shooting frisbees into goals 8 and 10 feet off the ground or so, and then a lower one. And there were also 2 pyramids in the center of the field that were kind of like a jungle gym type structure that you had to climb up with your robot, and the higher you got, the more points you received for that. So if you guys want to demonstrate something. Get them off center, guys. Don't let go of it.
As you can see, quite maneuverable. It's using what's called mechanism wheels. These wheels allow it to go side to side as well as drive like a regular car. And once they're loaded, you guys want to try shooting for the corner, we can try and catch it.
Yeah, you do it, Karen.
All right. We'll pitch it.
Slow crowd. Oh, it's okay.
Great.
That's enough. As you can see from the high-powered flashlight, that was our aiming mechanism, which is also part of the link to the drive motor for the shooting mechanism. Oh, it's climbing capability. Demonstrate that.
So essentially what would happen is we would drive straight to the bar, so roughly where his hand was right there, and then just very quickly go straight down and lift right up.
It's worth 10 points for every time they
Every time
accomplish
you-
that.
Uh-huh.
And for reference, every frisbee scored on the very highest goal was 3 points. So that was a decent number of points.
The autonomous program that they worked out was also very successful. We had a statistics of over 80% accuracy during the first competition, and you know, the fact that it could reliably go forward and score at the highest scoring structure, we ended up an average of 12 to 18 points every time we went out in the field for that, 10 points for every time it climbed, and then how often it could be reloaded and shot back and forth across the field. Those are all you know, things that we originally planned from the beginning of the design, and it worked out to be a successful integrated machine. And you know, it was a fun machine to watch. I hope it was a fun machine to drive. It had its peculiarities, but the problem solving that goes into this is what I'm so proud of. And you know, the intensity of the competition is a great thing, but the fact that we could field, you know, a playing robot every year is quite a milestone all unto itself. And I wanted to congratulate publicly this fine group of young men and women.
Yeah. Can you tell me just a little bit about how the team works together in the design and build process?
Who would like to answer questions?
We like to do what we call iterative. Oh, I can't set that down. Bad things happen. We like to do what we call iterative design, where we'll go layer by layer, and when we add a system, we'll test it, and if something doesn't work, we'll modify it so that we can get it to work.
Right.
And this, you know, sometimes adds things which do seem a little bit like they're tacked on at the last moment, but it's given us a fairly stable and reliable robot.
You're given on the first week of January the design problem, and then you have 6 weeks from that point to come up with a solution that then you have to put in a bag and can't touch until you go to the competition.
Okay.
So there's a time limit All teams are expected to use the same electronic control system. There are very exacting requirements for motor use and for pneumatics and all the other subsystems. These are all things that all the other schools will have in common. And then from there on, it's whatever your ingenuity can bring to it in terms of getting it all work together and to get a program that's reliable in order for it to be able to function, not just in a controlled space, but under the chaotic environment of 6 robots all competing at the same time. So when you play, it's 3 robots against 3 robots, and each team has got to cooperate as much as possible in order to be successful, and it's a learning experience going through that process. But to me, the fundamental reason that we do this is so that they have this hands-on engineering experience, where again the planning, the testing, the calculating, the trial and error, the materials testing. These are things that go way beyond book learning and become the kind of things that these people should be extremely proud of. Should always be able to talk to a university or an employer as a representation of a manifestation of their portfolio, their capabilities, their ability to work as a team, their ability to be able to, however trial and error we approach and however like an onion it is in terms of its layers, it's still a very sophisticated project. And that's the kind of learning that I think is rare and essential for the success of our school.
That's great, thanks. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Yeah, so just a quick show of hands. How many of you intend to go into engineering? That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Awesome.
Really good.
Yeah, great. Anything else? Congratulations, that's just awesome.
We would, of course, love to thank Mr. Blue for another great season and his
Yeah, you better do
10
that.
decided years of service to the team. Our other great mentors, Mr. Brooks, Cricket Moore, all of our other mentors, Mr. Pearson for giving us wonderful photography and videography for recording all of our events. So thank you, everyone, for making this team possible.
Did you thank your parents?
Don Brobst, they've been essential, and the Nettie family. We had so many great moments in the stands with our crowd, our home team crowd. It was great.
Good.
Yes. She has done all our flags. Michael designed our shirt this year. This is, kind of our motto is ad astra per aspera, to the stars through hard work. And boy, that was it. That sums it up.
Great. Thanks for coming. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are these all our swimmers? How come they didn't come up?
I think it doesn't matter. They just
Okay.
had to speak.
Sure, come up.
And just to finish up, I think all of our swimmers, right? If you want to introduce yourself, because we forgot to have you introduce yourself and say what you actually swam this year, like what your races were. And so come on up.
Hi, I'm Jared Britton. I'm a sophomore. I swam the 50-yard freestyle and the 100-yard butterfly, as well as the 200 medley relay and the 200 freestyle relay in finals at the state meet this year.
Wow.
I'm Erin McFall, and I swam 100 back and 100 free at states this year.
I'm Sarah Devlin, and I swam 100 butterfly and 200 and 400 freestyle relay.
Excellent.
I'm Beth Cashin. I swam 100 breaststroke and 50 freestyle.
I'm Miller Surratt. I'm a freshman. I swam the 200 IM and the 100 breaststroke, as well as the relays.
I'm Christopher Marcus. I'm a freshman. I swam the 100 back and the 200 freestyle relay.
I'm Julianne Kelly. I'm a freshman. I swam 100 fly, 100 breast, and medley relay.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that the end of our guests?
Yeah, but they don't have to stay.
Right. Thanks Thanks all of you for coming. If you need to go home and do your homework, feel free to. If you'd like to stay, you're welcome to.
You're
I know
welcome.
no one ever does. All right. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda.
That's so fun.
Good. Long consent agenda this evening. First items, personnel, staff retirements. Does the school board accept the following staff retirements? Mary Klink, reading specialist, Thomas Jefferson, effective December 31st, 2013. Barbara Cooper, principal secretary, Thomas Jefferson, effective December 31st, 2013. Stephanie Siskowski, life skills teacher, George Mason, effective June 14th, 2013. And staff retirements effective the end of the 2012-2013 school year. Marco de las Casas, transportation courier system-wide. Bertha Monteverde, food service at George Mason. Larry Allen, paraprofessional, George Mason. Connie Jenkins, music teacher, Mary Ellen Henderson. Pamela Keller, speech specialist, Thomas Jefferson. Linda Orr, first grade paraprofessional, Mount Daniel. Peggy Payne, kindergarten teacher, Mount Daniel. Maureen Zafros, kindergarten teacher, Mount Daniel. And Sue Thackeray, paraprofessional, family literacy at Mount Daniel. Staff resignations. That the board approved the following resignations. Benjamin Schwartz, ESL teacher, George Mason, effective the end of the 2012-2013 school year. Kimberly Aubrey, pre-kindergarten special education teacher at Mount Daniel, effective June 17th, 2013. Janet McAvoy Price, ESL teacher, Mount Daniel, effective June 13th, 2013. And Erica Bean, paraprofessional, Mount Daniel, effective June 15th, 2013. Leave of absence. That the school board approve a leave of absence for an employee at Thomas Jefferson for the 2013-2014 school year. Extra pay for extra duty assignments. That the school board approve the following EPED assignments. 2 athletic EPED assignments, George Mason, for the 2013 spring season. 6 extracurricular activity EPED assignments, Thomas Jefferson, for the 2013 spring season. Advisory committee resignation. That the school board accept the following advisory committee resignation of the Support Employee Advisory Committee, Beth Stoffel, Thomas Jefferson, effective immediately. Advisory committee appointment. That the board approve the following advisory committee appointment. The Support Employee Advisory Committee, Lauren Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Nana Enningful, Mary Ellen Henderson, for terms ending June 30th, 2013. Approval of tuition rates. That the school board approve the following tuition and fees for the 2013-2014 school year. Non-residential tuition, $5,000 for a preschool peer partner on a sliding scale. $15,840 for Mount Daniel Elementary School, K1. $15,300 for Thomas Jefferson Elementary School, grades 2 through 5. $16,740 for Mary Ellen Henderson Middle School, grades 6 through 8, and $18,000 for George Mason High School, grades 9 through 12. A tuition application fee of $150 per student application, a student parking fee of $200 per year, and a VRS resolution, rate resolution. That the school board approve the VRS resolution, member contributions by salary reduction for school divisions in accordance with Chapter 822 of the 2012 Acts of Assembly, which was Senate Bill 497.
Thank you, Ms. Tremble. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
I move that the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Highland. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed or abstentions? All right, thanks very much. We have approved the consent agenda for this evening. The next section of our agenda is the business action information section. Item 8.01, approval of second reading and adoption of policy 4.8.1, which is the fund balance policy that we've been talking about on this board for the last 6 weeks or so. Dr. Jones?
During our first reading, the school board did not request any changes, so we haven't, it's not reflective of any changes at all, and stands as it did at the last meeting.
All right, thank you very much. Let's put a motion on the table, and then if there's any discussion, we can have it. Is there a motion to approve the second reading and adoption of 4.8.1?
I move that the school board approve the second reading and adoption of policy 4.8.1 fund balance as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Highland. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cheney. Are there any questions, any discussion, any concerns about this? Not seeing any, I'll call the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? No, all right, thanks very much. We've approved our first policy on the fund balance. I think that's important and good. Next is a resolution from the VSBA having to do with recognition of the various kinds of businesses and the various businesses in the City of Falls Church who go out of their way to support our schools. I'm going to say just a few words, and I'm going to let my colleagues know that I do have a resolution here which we will each sign. It's accompanied by a list of the businesses that have gone out of their way to support our schools. There are restaurants and doctors and physicians and corporations and realtors and other kinds of sponsors and government agencies and nonprofits. The list is really quite lengthy of all the folks who go out of their way to help our school division. There is a motion for us to approve this resolution. And then Dr. Jones, I'm going to ask you, if you will, please let my colleagues know how these businesses will receive their recognition.
And also on the selection aspect, the businesses, as you know, Mary Beth Conley is our BIE person, and they meet on a monthly basis. And she did bring her recommendations on those businesses that do contribute a tremendous amount to the school division. And then she also allowed that BIE committee that meets on a monthly basis to contribute if they felt like somebody had been left off, because she wanted to make sure that we were very inclusive. Once the resolution is signed, it then goes to, it will actually go back to VSBA. And my understanding is she's going to try to have them actually come to a meeting so that we can recognize them. And I'm sure, being busy people that they are, we may not get every one of them, but we would like to be able to have them here because they do give us a tremendous amount of support as a school division.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Jones. I'm just going to quickly read the resolution, and then I'll call for the question. I'll pass it down for signature on my right. The resolution says, whereas public schools and local businesses are an integral part of this community, and whereas many local businesses play a crucial role in supporting our schools, that's for sure, and whereas the economic health of our community, state, and nation depends upon a strong public school system, whereas collaboration between local public schools and local businesses strengthens schools and the business community alike by providing a well-trained and highly educated workforce, and whereas an excellent public school system is vital to the quality of life in this community and fundamental to preserving a strong democratic society now and in the future. Therefore, be it resolved that the Falls Church City School Board names 24 local businesses and nonprofit organizations to the 2013 Virginia School Boards Association Business Honor Roll, showing appreciation for the firms and organizations' ongoing support of this community's public schools. Your work has aided this community in focusing on the goal of providing the best public schools we can for every child who attends them. And there is a list of businesses and nonprofit organizations attached here, as I indicated before. So I'm going to send this down to my right. And then we do have an action item here, a motion which would be that the school board approve the resolution. Is there anyone who would like to put that motion forward?
Madam Chair, I move that the school board approve a resolution for the 2013 Virginia School Boards Association Business Honor Roll.
All right. Is there a second to that motion? Second. Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Are there any questions, issues, concerns? All right. If not, all in favor, please say aye. 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 And are there any opposed? All right. Thanks. And we will look forward to having these businesses be represented at a meeting and having a chance to recognize them. Mr. Sharp needs to sign this at a later meeting, so thanks for that. And
Susan, maybe one
yes.
other idea.
Yeah.
Maybe we should, if they can't make it, make trips to visit the businesses.
Mm-hmm. That would be awesome. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Dr. Jones, if you could think through that, that'd be awesome. I fear I probably visit too many of them already, but for different reasons altogether. Okay, construction update, Dr. Jones.
Well, every month I'm so excited about construction. It's so fun at TJ. I just could just go on and on. But now we're actually, you know, it's fun to watch the building developing and, you know, all of the colors are set, but there's so much work going on behind the scenes. I just want to thank so many of our staff members because just trying to get the furniture ordered together, you know, with 15 full-size classrooms and 3 small ones, tremendous amount of work going into that. Also getting the movers booked. As you know, we have 4 days to get every teacher moved out of their classroom in TJ, and all of those items, furniture and everything, down to the gym areas for a staging area so that we can renovate. And so just getting the movers booked and making sure that they can get that done in those couple of days. We also have our summer calendar as a school division that is preliminary done, and we're just making sure everybody is okay with where their cleaning schedules are for every building, as well as all of the construction aspects, because we do have people from every building moving this summer. So everything is like a well-oiled machine, and every week is planned for different aspects. We also are deep into task 2 now and are very excited about that, and also working on the pre-K play space. I've mentioned that at the last month's meeting. Now that we know we're definitely moving pre-K to the portables, making sure that outside in the grassy area they have a pre-K space that's a little tinier and with a fenced-in area for those little bitty ones. One thing that is on board docs, I do have extra copies just in case you needed to be able to see it. I just wanted you to be aware. Part of task 2 is also doing the roof at TJ. And in doing that roof, of course, they're up there assessing now, you know, what looks good, what doesn't look good, and then they keep me apprised, and we meet every other Wednesday for several hours. And one of the things I wanted you to be aware of is on this top sheet, you'll see where the red line is. I want to say a parrot, but that's the wrong term. I just have lost the term. It has a fancy construction name. But the little part that sticks up above the doors is actually not in good condition. It's a single, just a brick face that was there, you know, for aesthetics. And no, it starts with a P. That's why I want to say. Oh, thank you.
I'm married to an architect. It's a parapet.
Thank you. I'll make sure they get the work done, but I may not get the right name. So where you see the red line is where it must come off. And so if you do drive by and you see that happening, I just want you to be aware. And the page behind it was just to give you a Photoshop of what it's going to look like. This is Mr. Brett's handiwork. Because one of the decisions we have to make is it a good area for them to actually reinstall and pay for a reinstall to rebuild it? Or will the architects bring something different to us to make the front entrance look a little bit different? So I've asked them to look at an awning, to look at, you know, what could we do that could be a little bit different? So I just wanted you to be aware, if you see part of the building coming down, it's just that little bitty brick part. But that could be happening because the roofing will be starting very quickly. They start over like on the gym area where it's not disruptive to classes and that sort of thing. But other than that, we are full steam ahead and busy, 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 and loving every minute of it. That's
All right. Thank you very much. It's very exciting for anybody in the community who has not driven by there recently. It's really coming along. Next is the monthly budget status report. Mr. Kimball, would you like to take us through that?
Ma'am, yes. Before each night, with 3/4 of our fiscal year having elapsed, is a projected ending position for each of the 3 school funds: school operating budget, the food service fund, and the community service fund. What's interesting about this year is that actually, I think this might be the first time that actually the community service fund is being projected to have a larger ending balance than the school operating fund, just given the number of pressures that were placed this year in terms of hiring staff and capital replacements. That being said, that given the monies that we've collected and anticipate collecting through the end of the year, plus what we spent and anticipate spending, the school operating fund is right now projected to end with about $60,000. That plus what we currently have in an obligated fund balance will provide us about $480,000 to $500,000 that we'll be able to use for carry forward next year. So the $60,000 does comport with the proposed FY14 budget. So we're in a good position there. The food service fund, just to let you know, that the months of January and February both turned around quite nicely, that they actually look much more like the January and the February of the previous year and the year before that, so that the changes that Mr. Kane put into place in terms of the menus did in fact bring clients back to purchasing the meals. That being said, it's going to be a tight year for food service, and they'll pretty much be breaking even, but they will be breaking even. And in terms of the Community Service Fund, we're projecting right now an ending balance of slightly over $70,000, and most of that is attributable to the daycare program, which continues to operate at a profit and with high customer satisfaction.
All right, thank you for that. Questions?
Clarification, under food service, it says that it provides for the school lunch programs at Mount Daniel, Thomas Jefferson, and George Mason. You meant to include Mary Ellen Henderson, too.
I did, yes. Thank you very much,
No
Ms.
problem, I
Howard.
just
Thank
wanted
you.
clarification, thank you.
All right, now the middle schoolers don't eat.
Oh, yes, they do.
Yeah. I know, my house, they always did. All right, thank you for that. And I have to say that $60,000 number is kind of startling this far through the year. All right, next is the superintendent's report. Dr. Jones?
Okay, busy, busy, busy. The third quarter does end this week, and so it's just so hard to believe that summer will be here before we know it. So we're all coming to grips with how fast the year has gone. Mount Daniel is starting their Read Aloud Together program, where they're all reading a shared book, and so watch for that in morning announcements. We also have, and I bet Maeve will mention it, that they had a group visited the White House, so I'll let her share that. We're very excited for them because that was kind of a last-minute invitation, which often the White House is. They don't give you a lot of notice, so that was exciting for us. Our middle school is, again, running the Husky Chef, and if you watch for that in morning announcements, I would encourage you to, reach out. They look for volunteers to taste the food, and this is something that Richard Kane started this year that's new. And these amazing chefs in middle school, it's just really, their dishes are fantastic. I wish I would have had that in middle school. So does my family. TJ students also had their wax museum, which was, fantastic if you've never seen that. So it's just a lot of hard work goes in from the families, from the children, and also from the staff. The mulch delivery is this Saturday, again, for the boosters, and so that's a big event. Also congratulating Stephanie Chaney on a Player of the Year, and I happened to be there to watch her interview and congratulate her, and that was we're just thrilled for her, and it couldn't happen to a nicer person. Just listening to her interview, and Lisa was there as well, and she was just so complimentary of everybody else, and that's what you kind of hope your children will grow up to be. So great job, Mr. Chaney. And Mrs. Cheney.
Yeah,
she gets the credit, right?
Don't forget Mrs. Cheney.
And our spring sports are in full swing, and if you haven't been there just to see the lights on, it's just so fun. Just to know that our athletes are going to be able to play a normal schedule. We could host playoffs and just be under the lights. Everyone's so excited. Also our lacrosse and soccer. Just watch if you get a chance to stop by and see some of the activity. Right now it's really, really cold. You might wait another week or two if you don't go out a lot. It's pretty chilly, but they're playing hard. So thank you. We're having a great month again.
Awesome. Maeve, why don't we start with you tonight? You can follow on the superintendent's report.
Okay. So I'm still working on figuring out how to get to Mount Daniel and TJ and MEH to give you guys a more comprehensive student view. But right now, just a little bit of what's been going on in the high school. Before break, the Monday before break, the student government had the opportunity to go and visit the White House for Women's History Month, and that was a really amazing experience. I was so excited to be there. We sat in on a panel at the Executive Office building and listened to, very accomplished women speak about their challenges and just, how they have progressed and what they have accomplished. And I personally found it very interesting to listen to, and I think everybody else enjoyed it. And then probably everybody's favorite part was the reception later at the White House, where we got to meet Mrs. and Mr. Obama. They were there, as well as Dr. Biden and the new ambassador to Global Women's Studies or some sort of committee. I know I'm getting it wrong. But there was tons of people there, and it was just an amazing experience. And we were so grateful to have the opportunity to go there and represent George Mason. We're not really sure why we were chosen, except that, we're a wonderful high school, and so, so that was a really great time. The third quarter is ending, so I know at least the high school is off on Monday. I'm assuming the other schools are off on Monday as well. So students are excited for the 3-day weekend and then sports. So just go out and support. It's been very cold, so I would second the waiting a couple weeks. But yeah, that's all.
Thanks, Maeve. Mr. Lawrence.
Really, not a whole lot to report on. Went to the ESL committee, but had to leave early because it was the night of the PTA meeting. So I don't know if Lisa has anything to add about what was discussed, but they're certainly an active little group, that's for sure. And Maeve was actually there for the announcement of the Ambassador at Large for Global Women's Issues, which, having worked in democracy and governance work, that was a very anticipated announcement. So she was actually there for something that was incredibly huge, because that is the State Department's main person who happens to be a woman on gender issues worldwide. So it was a huge event, not just going to the White House, but that specific announcement. That's it.
All right, Mr. Sharp.
Sorry, I missed the business honor roll when I was out for a few minutes, but I did want to point out that, of course, our robotics team had sponsors, SAIC and Exxon, and then we have throughout the year businesses that will come into our schools, provide for Career Day, and I certainly want to thank Mary Beth Conley, who's the main liaison to the business community. The Chamber of Commerce is holding their gala in April 20th at the Westin Hotel, and if you haven't as yet picked up your tickets, you can acquire them online. It's the Falls Church Chamber's website that you can just Google Falls Church Chamber, and you'll find their event prominent there on their website. And I did want to say I want to thank the board and council for a very good meeting last night. I think we clarified a number of things about our budget situation, even if we didn't come to decisions. That wasn't really expected last night, but I really do appreciate the great cooperation that we see from our general government with us. And I think there is a real spirit of wanting to see the entire city succeed, and wanting to have certainly the schools continue to enjoy the success that we have throughout the city's history. And so I don't fault the intent or the motivation of anyone in this process. I think they're all very well attuned to the city's traditions and focused on its successful future. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Castillo.
Well, I would just say that the reason I was late was I was freezing watching a tennis game. So it is true that if you're, there may be lights over there, but they are not warming lights.
not heat lamps, right?
So if you could get the kind that they use to warm the biscuits at Popeyes or something next time. That would be so you have been warned. I don't have much to report other than I did take a trip to the library last week, and it's probably overdue now. And I read I believe it was the 50th anniversary of the schools. There's a nice little 40 or 50 page report, history. And one of the things I noticed was at one point, and I know this comparison isn't valid, but they were talking about a real estate tax rate of 265 at one point. And I think one of the things, one of the things that we, if you go back and look at the history of the city, yes, it's built on education, but it's not always been easy education, and there have been there have been debates about this going back for 60 years. And I think we need to remind ourselves that this infrastructure and this excellence doesn't just appear out of whole cloth. It has to be created, and eventually, after 60 years, it has to be renewed. And I think we need to remind ourselves that as exceptional as we think we are, we can squander that legacy very readily. And so there are a couple of copies at the library, some of which you can't check out. So if anybody is interested in learning some more details about the history of education in Falls Church, I commend that to them. And bring warm clothing to sporting events is all I can say.
We need hot chocolate, right? Mr. Cheney.
I do a couple things tonight. Not realizing that I was going to be back on the school board a while ago, I had some other duties, and both of those are coming to bear tonight. On Saturday, there will be about 3,000 bags of mulch delivered across the city for the boosters. Got about 1,000 orders in the last 3 days, so thank you to the school publicity arm for putting the crunch on with a great April Fool's joke buried in there, if anybody saw that. But there'll be a lot of mulch delivered and a lot of volunteers who've helped put that together, so I really appreciate that. We are scheduling, speaking of lights, a warming party, a fundraising event for the lights. As most of you know, the lights are there and working, but not totally paid for. And we are going to have a fundraising event. I think it's the last Saturday in April. I'll get the details. It'll be probably a softball game among different teams, kind of a celebrity softball game idea to get people out there and aware of it, and then there'll be other events going along. The last thing I have to do tonight, I am on the executive board of an environmental educational nonprofit called the Nature Generation, and its mission is to bring things about sustainability and energy into schools and youth, et cetera. One of the things that this organization does is sponsor a nationwide book award program called the Green Earth Book Awards, and every year, in fact, the ceremony is Friday night in Salisbury State. They select from about 500 different books and authors and publishing houses. It's gotten to be fairly large and fairly well recognized. And I was fortunate enough to have 2 of the winning books this year that I was allowed to donate to our elementary school libraries. So I will pass them along. They're called A Place for Butterflies. They are absolutely gorgeous, illustrated and written books about the plight of the butterflies and how they're coming back in certain areas. So with pleasure, I get to donate these and eventually, hopefully, introduce the Nature Generations programs. We have a pretty exciting agenda coming up, and introduce those into Falls Church. So I'll pass those along, and I already had a picture with Dr. Jones, but they really are amazing. The panel that gets to pick these winners really gets overwhelmed because there's so many really outstanding selections every year, and it's growing. It's like gone up by 5-fold in a couple of years, so word's starting to get around.
That's neat, and thank you. And thank you to your organization. Mr. Rasnick?
Yeah, so I'm really glad that, for the cameras, I'm glad that Craig serves on this type of committee, because if we don't do something about our infrastructure soon, we may be teaching our kids in a field somewhere. So we may need your expertise in that regard. So I don't have anything to report tonight, Madam Chair, other than I wanted to wish my father a happy birthday. Today's his birthday. He always says he was born a day late and $1 short, literally. So happy birthday, Dad. Last week was my anniversary, and I forgot to say it. So, or 2 weeks ago for our other school board meeting. So I'm just flicking off family events here left and right. That's all. Thank you.
All right. And Ms. Hyland?
Not a lot to report because of the, post-spring break lull. Now we're gearing up to the final quarter of the year, but another committee that I sit on that's not a school board committee, but a school committee is the All-Night Grad Celebration Committee, and that event, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, is the party that is hosted by parents at George Mason High School after graduation for all of our students to come and have a fun and safe party to celebrate their graduation. We've had, up to 90% or more of the students have come in the past, and the reports, either from being there and witnessing it or just hearing from students, have been that it's always been a lot of fun. So I encourage our seniors and our senior parents to get involved and buy their tickets, and we are continuing to solicit donations to fund this event. It's quite an expensive event to put on, so Any donation, small or large, is welcome. There's a big fundraiser coming up April 20th called the Bird Feeder, and that is at Clarendon's. They graciously host sort of a silent auction and fundraiser, and Mr. Bird comes and, helps solicit funds, and it's going to be from 4 to 7 on Saturday, April 20th, and if it's a nice day, it's really a lot of fun. It's a good community event. So also, there may be other Flipping Pizza fundraisers coming up, so pay attention to the morning announcements and do support it. Thanks.
Thank you. First, Mr. Cheney, let me say that's a beautiful book. Absolutely beautiful illustration. And I wish I had a copy of it so I could recognize the butterflies in my yard, because I have many different kinds, but I don't know what they are. I want to thank the joint PTAs in the city. They hosted a forum for us where the community could come and learn about our budget request. It was well attended. We had great questions. It was a terrific opportunity that we haven't generally had for the community to learn about our budget request. So thanks to those fine ladies and gentlemen for doing that for us. In the same vein, I want to thank the League of Women Voters. Last Monday night, I guess it was, Dr. Jones and I were here on this very dais for a budget forum that really focused at the beginning on the demographics in the city and the demographics of the schools and the effect that those things are having on our education programs and our funding needs. Once again, extremely well attended, really cool audience with lots of great questions for Dr. Jones and myself, but really for our colleagues who were here as well from the planning department in the city, and also Councilwoman Johanna Berry was here as well. And so I also want to thank those lovely ladies for the cookies. They were wonderful, the chocolate chip cookies. This school board has tried hard this year to have more opportunities for people in the community to learn about our budget, and those were just 2 of them. There will be another town hall meeting on the 12th of April at the community center from 10 to noon, and that's another opportunity for people in the community to learn about both the city budget and the school's budget requests, the operating budget as well as the CIP budget. So, please come out to that. I want to echo Mr. Sharp's comments. I thought we had a very productive meeting with City Council last night on the budget and had an opportunity to ask and answer some questions about what we're trying to do for our schools in terms of teachers' compensation for our dedicated staff and reducing our class sizes and other things. And we'll continue that conversation between now and April 22nd when City Council adopts a budget. For those in the community, if you have an opinion about the budget, I'd encourage you to make your voice known, because City Council is wanting to hear you just as the school board wanted to hear you when we were going through our budget discussions. So there are lots of ways to learn about the budget. There's budget information on the city's website as well as on our website. There are videos of work sessions and all kinds of places that you can learn, as well as discussions ongoing in the media in town. And so it's an important year, and pay attention and let people know what you think. And those are my comments for this evening.
Madam Chair, could I?
Yes.
Just, I'm sorry, I was remiss. There was one other thing.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's particularly official, but the results at TJ were announced on the 28th, and I was pleased that all 3 Falls Church slots were filled, and so I think that speaks very well for our school system, and I'm very proud of everybody who, I think we had a record turnout this year, something like 16 applications.
Wow, great.
And 3 admits, and so I commend everybody who applied, and I congratulate those who were admitted. So I think well done to the schools.
Great, thanks for that, because since I'm not the liaison to Gifted and Talented anymore, I hadn't picked up on that. That's awesome. All right, the last thing we have in terms of business tonight is approval of the minutes. I believe all 3 sets of minutes, all 7 board members were attending. So I think we can have one motion to approve all 3 of these sets of minutes, if someone would like to do that.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Move that we approve the minutes of February 12th, 2013, February 26th, 2013, and March 5th, 2013.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sharp. And Mr. Lawrence, I see you raising your hand.
Yeah, I had one change, or actually one question, and I think I printed out the wrong one. On the meeting where we were reporting back on our meetings with our city council buddies, the way it was phrased, wasn't clear that we were characterizing what they thought. And I just think we need to make it clear that it wasn't that they were saying this, but this was what we were conveying after our conversations. But then I had a question about the next meeting we went through when, you know, you went through and asked everybody, okay, what do you think about the proposed budget? What do you support? What do you like? What do you don't like? And we were not named in there. And I was just kind of curious that we named by name the council and what we thought they thought, but then in the next meeting, we had anonymous listings of what our opinion was on the budget. And I was just curious if there was a reason. I mean, I think we should either make both anonymous or, you know, name us, since obviously it's a public meeting. I just had a question on that. At the very least, I'd like to make it clearer that we were characterizing what we had heard, not that this is what they were actually saying.
Yeah, so which minutes are those that you're referring to? Do you know? Is it February 26th?
That's what I pronounced it wrong. Yes, I think it was the 26th where we were talking about our meetings with our buddies.
So, John, are you asking I amend my motion to include those names, or would you like me to just pull that particular set of minutes for a further amendment?
Well, I don't know if this would just be a technical correction. I mean, I do think we need to make it clear that we were characterizing what the council said, and I'm just curious if there's a reason why we don't have our names in where we were explaining what budget we supported, you know, what we supported in the next meeting.
I don't know the answer to that because I do not write these minutes. I would say that the record of school board support of a budget would be your vote, right? Which was recorded by name on the dais on the evening we adopted the budget. So, I mean, that was my response, but I don't know. I guess Ms. Goodell transcribed in the other minutes exactly kind of what happened in the work session, so.
No, I wasn't necessarily saying
Yeah.
who talked to whom. I was just making it clear that it was school board members conveying other people's opinions. The way I read it, it
Yeah.
almost made it look like they were there saying, this is my opinion. And that's,
Right, so.
I don't think that would make us any friends if we made it look like that.
So if we could just add a sentence to this to say, school board members summarize their conversations with city
Mr.
council
Lawrence's
members or something
hearsay
like that.
exception.
Yeah, and if we normally don't, you know, call out, you know, who says what specifically for work sessions or only as a vote, then the next one doesn't need to be fixed.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So, are you going to amend your motion to add that sentence? And let's, if you fix your motion, then we'll.
I'd like to offer an amendment to include the clarification of the members' comments in that section to the 26 February minutes.
Thank you. All right, and we have a second for that?
Second.
All right, very good. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, very good. Thank you for that. There are a couple of materials for board review.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
In an effort to out-nerd Mr. Lawrence, which I will tell you is a high bar indeed, the enrollment numbers for GMH don't add up. They're both columns add up to 891. And the only reason I mentioned that because I was a little surprised the enrollment dropped that month, but I don't know if it's just we missed a number or something in the column, but the March numbers for George Mason they still add up to a total of 891. So I don't know if it's, which it is. We'll go back and check. Okay.
Is that all? Is that as nerdy as you're going to get?
That's it.
Does anybody else want to try to heighten that bar? All right, then. Thanks very much. One last thing. Mr. Sharp did send an email to the school board today on the facilities topic, and we didn't have a chance to take it up in work session this evening. I'm going to ask each of you if you would send me individually your comments about his suggestions and what your thoughts are, and I'll pull those together, and then based on what people are thinking, we'll decide what to do about that particular thing, because I don't want to put it off. So if you would do that for me, that would be great. And otherwise, I believe we are adjourned for this evening. Thank you, everyone.